alignment, manifestation, synchronicity, dark night of the soul. What does it all mean? Is the woo sometimes a little too woo for you? Join me as I break it all down on Decoding the Woo Woo with Dana Sardano. Hi, my name is Dana Sardano, and this is Decoding the Woo Woo. Welcome, and thank you for joining me. Decoding the Woo Woo is a show that I created because I wanted to clarify some of the misconceptions of spirituality. And I wanted to break down some of the heady and esoteric concepts and really demystify the cryptic and magical nature of the woo. I wanted to really help us all understand that we are all of the woo. We are all spiritual beings, and we're here just trying to learn and grow and expand and live in love and joy while doing so. And my hope is by breaking things down in a way that's attainable for all of us, we can all live in this way and have fulfilling and purposeful lives. So that's why I'm here. Hopefully that's why you're here. And let's get this party started. So just to give a quick recap, this is episode 6. This is a part 2 of Aspects of You. And this episode is focused on the magical nature of you. The episodes up until now, really, I focused on the self, on you, on us all understanding that we are the creators of our reality and we dictate the trajectory of our lives and navigate the information that comes our way and the hows and the how the best way for us to go about doing that. So as we built in the content in these episodes, again, the last 2 episodes, I've been focusing on the aspects of you. Last episode was about your foundation and the aspects of you that correlate or that correspond with your basic, your foundational chakras, your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, and all the aspects that correspond with that. Your feelings of worthiness and safety and security, your creativity, your passion, your zest for life, all of those things that create a foundation in you so you could build your magic, your woo, your sense of authenticity, your sense of living with an open heart, your imagination, your intuition, your oneness, your connectivity. So in order to do that, in order to develop this magic and build this magic and live in magic, you must first create your foundation. So that's what we talked about in the last episode. So this magical part of you, these upper chakras from the heart, your throat, your third eye, and into your crown, that all builds on that foundation. So even though we're going to do what we did in the last episode, we'll talk about each of these aspects, but I have a list of questions right here that I'm going to share with you. So when you do this work on your own and you sit in your, contemplation, you could ask yourself these questions and really get a sense of where your balances are, where your imbalances are, and then you can work on bringing them back into balance. Even though when you ask yourself these questions in these upper chakra areas, even though it will assist you in detecting the imbalances, it's very, very important that you realize or that you understand that many of these balances don't start in these areas. They begin in these foundational chakras. So if I have, just as an example, I have imbalances in my heart chakra, it's worth looking back at where I developed these fears, where I developed these irrational beliefs, where I developed these toxic behavioral patterns, where that all began. So you always trace it back as far as you can to the root. You yank that root, and then that will assist you in reconciling these imbalances in all your chakras, but in this case, specifically your upper chakras. Make sense? Okay. Let's start with the heart chakra. So the heart chakra, and we talked about this, oh my God, we've talked about this ad nauseum. It's represented in green. It's located right here. But here's the thing about the heart. If you have 7 chakras within your body, the heart chakra is directly in the middle. So you have 3 foundational and you have 3 here. And so your heart chakra is like the portal of everything. So when your heart chakra is imbalanced, it is it is affected by the imbalances of the lower chakras. So if your foundation is out of whack or out of alignment, it's going to affect the aspects here. If your heart chakra is imbalanced, it's now going to affect these upper chakras. So it's like the gateway drug, right? It really truly is the hub. So if you have imbalances here, it's affected by what's going on down here. If you have imbalances here, it affects what's going on up here. Make sense? So every imbalance that you detect here, you've got a lot of work to do. But you've got some excavating to do. You need to look and see, what was the source of it. And then when you bring it into alignment, you're going to see how it positively affects what's going on up here. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about some questions. So the main attributes, the aspects in this area are your sense of non-judgment, your sense of compassion, forgiveness, loving without condition or expectation, gratitude. Oh my God. So here's some questions that you could ask yourself. Okay, I'm right here. Okay, unconditional love. So here are some questions you could ask yourself. Do I love without condition or expectation? If not, ask yourself, what are my conditions? What are my expectations? We do this all the time without even realizing it. You hear parents, right? You have children. Oh, you love them unconditionally. You love them unconditionally. But then you hear about parents who disown their children because the children grow up and have opposing belief systems. Maybe they don't follow the same religion. Maybe their sexual orientation, maybe just their beliefs about the world around them. So the parent then disowns them because of these beliefs. But that is conditional love. Do what I want, be the way I want, believe what I want, and I will love you. Or loving with expectation. Oh my God, I did this most of my life. I thought if I loved the shit out of somebody, then they would kind of be like they had to, like an indentured servant, right? Like they had to love me back. And it was my irrational beliefs about myself that I could force, cajole, really bully somebody into loving me by loving them so hard, as opposed to being lovable. So loving with condition and expectation is really something that we have to look at, and it creates a lot of codependence in relationships. So those are some of the questions for loving unconditionally. The next one is forgiveness. Here are a couple questions you could ask yourself. Do I readily forgive others for their, and I say in quotes, wrongdoings? Because people are just being who they are. We judge their doings as wrong. Do I readily forgive myself for mine? And in asking yourself these questions and detecting these imbalances, this goes back to recognizing that it's all just information, that we are not victims. All of the things that I talked about in the previous episodes. Okay, the next one, compassion. Am I able to have compassion for others, even if I don't align with their way of being? Am I able to offer understanding, even if I would never do that? Am I able to recognize that we are all doing the best we can with what we've got? And if I've been wronged by another, it was never about me. All of this work that I talk about all the time in the journey of self-discovery, all the stuff that I talk about in 10 Recs about I am not a victim and I will not become entrenched in my emotions and I will, not feed into toxic behavioral patterns and irrational beliefs and things like that. It always goes back to that, because the one thing that I've learned, and this is something to really contemplate about compassion, is the best and probably the only way we could truly, truly have compassion for another is to have lived our experiences. It doesn't have to be identical, but the overarching pain, grief, loss, right? The experience of humanness. Having had those experiences, having faced those experiences, having overcome those experiences, having been able to develop forgiveness for yourself and for whoever else was a part of those experiences, and truly have evolved, transmuted, alchemized those experiences, and then be able to live in a place of compassion because you now have understanding. You have understanding for yourself, the hows and the whys and how you got there and how you overcame. And then you can see it in others. Oh my God, you can see it everywhere because you have allowed yourself to have those experiences and come out the other side. So compassion is huge, but until we, again, reconcile the imbalances of that foundation to come to that place, that's the only way we can have compassion. And when we have that, the heart opens and we see the world much differently, much less judgy, right? Much less fear-based. And we can be, oh, okay, the next one, non-judgment. How often do I judge others' choices or ways of being? Is the word should a prevalent part of my vocabulary? Can I be at peace with my present circumstances, recognizing all the pieces for what they are, removing all judgment of the parts and players of my experience? It's all just information. It's all just information. It's all just information. Okay. Sensitivity. Am I able to connect on a deep emotional level? Am I often moved by acts of love and beauty? I laugh because my family can't take me anywhere because everything makes me cry. It was like that movie. Oh my God, that movie with Brendan Fraser, with the whole thing with the devil and the really hot chick, Elizabeth something or other. She's the devil and he cries at the sunrise or the sunset. Totally butchered it. You know the movie. I know you know the movie. Anyway. Do I feel others from a heart space? Do I mistrust others and protect myself with well-developed coping mechanisms? All stuff that we've talked about, but these are questions that you should ask yourself. Thoughtfulness. Do I do for others without an agenda, right? Loving without condition or expectation. Do I do for others just because it feels good to do for others? Do I ask others how they are doing without prompting? When was the last time I did something thoughtful for another without an agenda? And the last one, gratitude. Am I able to find gratitude for the suck while in the suck? And that's really a big one because when we begin to understand that it's all just information, that these are all experiences for us to learn, grow, and expand. And we're in the suck. And I know it's difficult when you're in the suck because we're all entrenched in our emotions and we're all immersed in all that. But when we recognize that there is a greater good here, and when I overcome this, I will be better for it, when we can have gratitude for the suck, that's when you know you truly embody gratitude. Do I take what I've created for myself for granted, or am I grateful for all of it, even the mundane? How often do I take stock of my life and show gratitude for it, the good, the bad, and the ugly? Again, similar theme here. How often do I give thanks for the little things? Oh my goodness. And these all go hand in hand. And when we reconcile the imbalances of our compassion or our loving unconditionally or any non-judgment, then the other ones will fall into place. And it's really a beautiful place to start. And what you'll find is when the heart chakra, like when the foundation is strong and the heart chakra opens up, oh my God, everything else falls into place. So I'm going to talk about the throat, the third eye, and the crown relatively quickly because I feel like in this episode, it's more about you having the questions that you can reflect on than me telling what I think are cute little anecdotes. So I'm really going to try to focus here so I have the time to get all of them in. So throat chakra, self-respect and boundaries. Do I set proper boundaries with others? Do I set proper boundaries with myself? Do I adjust my boundaries when I grow out of the old ones? That's a big one. That's a big one. I'm like, I set a boundary. Yeah, but as I evolve, my needs change. And as my needs change, I have to set new lines in the sand. And we often don't do that. And you know what happens sometimes also? Oh, listen to me. I'm not going to tell little anecdotes. Here I go. But what happens also is, and this happened with my family, when I started to evolve and create more worthiness within myself, I started setting boundaries. And I always joke, but they didn't get the memo. So they're still acting under the old rules. And when I set new boundaries, everybody freaked out because this isn't how we played the game before. And it kind of, shit hit the fan a little bit. And that story's for another day. But you'll find when you begin to have the worthiness to set the boundaries for yourself, the people around you may not appreciate it, but that's okay because people will show up that do. Little disclaimer there. Okay. Do I respect others' boundaries? Do I address those who breach my boundaries? I always joke, it's not enough to set the boundaries. You have to keep the boundaries. Little Jerry Seinfeld reference. Okay, honesty. Am I being honest with others? Am I being honest with myself? The lies we tell ourselves. What lies do I tell myself? What am I protecting? What am I afraid of? So here's what you'll find. You'll find with your level of honesty with yourself, if you find that there's imbalances there and you have things about yourself that you're protecting, it goes down to fears and coping mechanisms and beliefs that were developed in your foundational chakras. And when you begin to look at those and bring those into balance, you will find your level of honesty. You will no longer fear honesty with yourself because you'll understand that you'll always be better for it the more honest you are. It's, you peek behind the curtain and it's scary, but once you open the curtain, you're like, it's dust bunnies. That's all it is. And then you clean them out and you move on. Okay, integrity. Do my words match my deeds? Am I hiding something within? Am I the person I portray myself to be? Do I portray myself favorably, but mentally beat myself up? Again, we think integrity is I say I'm going to do something and I do it, but it's so much more than that because integrity and authenticity really, they merge within one another because when we're not honest with ourselves about who we are and we're trying to portray we're something because we are shameful of who we are, lower chakra stuff, we lack integrity and we come across as inauthentic or disingenuous, which leads me to the next one, authenticity. Is the world seeing the real me? If not, what am I afraid of? Where does that come from? Why am I scared? What do I believe about myself that creates reservations about bringing my true self to the world? What are my natural proclivities, my greatest gifts, the things that come most naturally to me? That's who you truly are. But you know what we've learned? At least I've learned so many of my greatest gifts. My impulsivity, I was taught that was a bad thing, only because it was out of balance. My speaking my mind, I was taught that was a bad thing because the people that didn't want to hear it. My leadership qualities, I was taught that was a bad thing because it was out of balance and I might have been bossy, or at least that's what they told me. So we squelch our natural inclinations and we squelch our gifts to cope and to be comfortable around others who are not comfortable with us. It's just about balance and imbalance. What comes natural to you, just bring it into balance. And those are the gifts you bring to the world. Am I comfortable with sharing them with the world? If not, why is that? Am I truly living in alignment with the purest essence of my soul? See, when I learn to be honest with myself, and when I learn to embrace the parts of myself that I've been uncomfortable with before, they say the shadows, but the parts that are out of balance, and bring them back into balance, they become a gift to myself and to the world around me. And navigating the trajectory of my life becomes smoother because I'm in alignment with my true essence. I'm living in authenticity. It's the most beautiful space to be. Communication. Do I communicate my thoughts, wants, and needs respectfully? Do I listen to others? Do I feel heard when I speak to others? Do I express my feelings with ease? We live in a world, in a climate right now where communication is stunted and poor. The collective consciousness is in a place where hopefully we're realigning those lower chakras collectively, because the way the heart chakra of the collective and the throat chakra of the collective is right now is stunted because of our collective fears, our collective lack of worthiness, our collective pains, our collective anger, all of that. So you see it in the macrocosm, but in your individual microcosm, you can make a difference by realizing when you express yourself aggressively or when you don't express yourself at all, and learning to own your authenticity and feel worthy of it and bring that to the world. It's all connected. Okay, the next one. The aspects of ourselves that are located in the third eye area. This is your discernment, your vision, your imagination, your intuition. So if your heart chakra is closed, you carry fears. If you're not living authentically because of, whatever fractures are in your foundation, your clarity is going to be stunted. Your ability to discern is going to be stunted. Your vision, your big picture is going to be stunted. So let's ask some questions. Discernment. Do I trust myself to make decisions that are for my highest good? Do I trust myself to build relationships that are for my highest good? Do I know what decisions are best for me? When I exercise discernment, does the trajectory of my life get easier? Do I make decisions based in logic that are void of emotional attachment? People always talk about non-attachment, non-attachment. Non-attachment isn't just about giving away your stuff. It's about detaching from the emotions, detaching from the beliefs, and just taking things for what they are and going from there. So that's your discernment. Vision. Am I able to see the big picture with clarity? Do I know the proper steps to get there? Do I trust my intuition? Am I following the joy? And again, when we're carrying fear-based beliefs, it's difficult to have that kind of trust, that kind of faith, that kind of clarity, that kind of vision. So if any of these questions are wonky for you, trace it back. Broken Record Hour with Dana Sardano. Okay. Imagination. Do I allow myself to be imaginative? Do I use my mind to create worlds for myself? Remember, you're the creator of your reality. When I allow myself to be imaginative, what kind of inspired ideas come to me? What is my favorite way to utilize my imagination? Imagination isn't just for little kids. It just stops there because life happens. We get life in order, our imagination opens. Intuition. Do I recognize how my intuition best speaks to me? Do I exercise my intuition? Do I trust my intuition? When my intuition speaks to me, do I listen? When I listen to my intuition, does life get easier? When I ignore it, do I have regrets? Something to think about. Okay. And lastly, let's talk about the crown. And let's talk about the aspects that correspond with the crown. So it's about your presence, your mindfulness, your connection, your feelings of oneness. Again, blah, 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 lower structure, crack, this is closed off, you know the rest. So when you ask yourself these questions, think back to the root causes. Okay? Okay. Presence. Am I able to be in the moment without distracting myself? Please sit on that question. Am I able to enjoy the now without rushing to what's next? Am I able to find peace in the moments? Do I value the time I spend just being? And I'm going to add this part. Or do I feel guilt for not doing? That's all down here. Mindfulness. Do I take the time to think about the decisions that I am making? Do I overthink them? Am I mindful of my response to stimuli? Remember, it's all just information. Am I reactive and sometimes even regretful of my reactions? Connection. How often do I allow myself to connect with nature? It's a big one. We're all in these boxes sitting behind these squares on our mini rectangles. Okay. How often do I meditate just to connect with myself and or spirit? Am I able to connect with other sensitivities just by being? How often do I feel peace? How often do I feel freedom? Freedom from worry, freedom of the man, freedom of everything, of our, responsibilities, freedom of all of it. Freedom is here. And lastly, oneness. How often do I feel genuine oneness with the world around me? Am I able to feel peace and freedom within the chaos? Am I able to feel love in my heart regardless of the circumstances around me? So please, I implore you, take these questions, sit on them, ask yourself, Rome wasn't built in a day. Just pick one that is out of balance and look at it and see if there's ways that you could reconcile these imbalances. I don't go in nature enough, so I'll go outside more. Or reconcile the imbalances by figuring out what the source of them are, the source of them is, and really try to find the root cause, the belief, and look at that belief and see if you could restructure that. So really take the time. You're worth it. Because when you start to look at life as balances and imbalances, and when you start to look at the things around you as some information and really able to detach from the judgment, the emotion of it all, you could really bring things into balance and streamline your trajectory to joy, peace, and freedom. And it's a beautiful thing. So there's your homework, and I wish you the best with it. And before we go, you know what I gotta do. So for those of you who are new, I highly recommend you go back and look at the first few episodes because it all builds up to this place. But I also have created this deck of cards with my dear friend Anne-Marie Scorti with my artwork and her beautifully empowered channeled messages. And I picked this one extra special for today. This is Ethereal Mother, by the way. Actually, I got her hanging right over there. You can't see the kids behind Barry Manilow. It's just one of my faves. Okay. The message on the card is forgiveness. Forgiveness is the key to alignment. This is very difficult for many to do, and comprehension may be even more difficult. For it is not for you to forgive others for their sake, but for your own, because you deserve to be free of the constraints these attachments hold over you. When you forgive, you allow yourself to heal the emotional wounds that scar your soul. You are healing your essence so you may transform into one who is ever closer to loving who you are. It is self-love emerging into complete self-acceptance, and that is freedom. Forgiveness. So clearly I chose this card because it all centers in the heart chakra. Your ability to love freely, to forgive, to have gratitude, be open-hearted. And when you recognize these aspects and you recognize whether or not they are in balance and you recognize where they came from, and then you take the openness and the wholeness of all the aspects of the heart and you bring them up into yourself, your authenticity, your imagination, your intuition, your connectivity, your oneness, you will see your life change in such magical and beautiful ways. And that is how you decode the woo. You decode yourself, and then everything else opens up. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for indulging me. I look forward to seeing you next time. And as always, Ubuntu.